21st of January, Sunday. -2 degrees Celsius, calm.
Fenya Miksha, 66 years old writer, lawyer. Pest, District 8. Haransky Street 11.
And in the morning, we set off again with Ria towards Dorotya Street, because they said we could find food there. We received about 20 kilos of flour, paprika, salt, even tobacco. The image of the inner city, if possible, is even more desolate than that of the boulevards. The city hall is in flames. In its courtyard, there are about 30 naked corpses, the last victims of the Arrow Cross men, Jews and non-Jews mixed together. The Adria Palace is in ruins, the houses next to it half or completely in ruins, dead bodies everywhere, horse carcasses. No, I swear, the world has never seen anything like this. We didn't know where to turn our eyes to avoid seeing it. I turned away so Ria wouldn't see my distress. And meanwhile, bullets showered around us on the walls, shop shutters, the sidewalks, and we dragged the flour. If only we could get out of the danger zone to Bakesy Street, where the danger is not so immediate. Wherever possible, we drag our burden along the walls, unless beams hanging in the street, crumbling walls force us into the middle of the road. We barely encounter any civilians. We are on the battlefield. The clatter of machine guns, the falling of bombs, the salvos of anti-aircraft guns, and meanwhile, the Russian cannons are fiercely shelling Buda. I thought with horror whether their barrels were not aimed at my children. Budapest kaput, a Russian soldier showed beside me with a strange gesture. Budapest kaput, and we are all kaput. And on the right side of the street, a corpse. And on the left side, a corpse. And the whole country, a corpse.
János Pentelényi,
34 years old engineer Buda, District 2, Bem Square, Radetzky Barracks.
In the morning, I went with my comrades to the barracks, and we stood there in a negligent line until noon, when we attended a holy mass in the basement. We hoped to be discharged in the afternoon, but it didn't happen that way. At 6 p.m., there was a roll call in the courtyard, and we were ordered to the Horthy bridgehead, today Patofi Bridge, for night fortification work. Of course, we set off on foot in 8 to 10 degrees Celsius cold, on snowy, slippery roads, in single file, silently. It was impossible to go along the Danube bank because it was under fire from the Pest side. We chose a big detour, the route behind the Southern Railway. We had to cross tank ditches constantly. The Virmezo was used as an emergency airfield. Red and green signal lights flashed occasionally to inform the German supply planes. German transport planes constantly roared in the air, and cargo gliders whistled as they dropped supplies of ammunition, gasoline, and food by parachute under the cover of darkness. Parachutes fell everywhere. We stopped in front of a school on Horthy Miklos, today Bartók Bela Street. We were assigned to German SS soldiers. They distributed shovels and pickaxes among us, and then we marched to the area behind the Technical University. Only the snow illuminated the dark night, and we soon recognized the blown-up iron structure of the Horthy Bridge, Liberty Bridge, stretching into the Danube. In the area in front of the bridgehead, the Germans marked out a trench line, which we were supposed to dig to a depth of 1 meter. The ground was snowy and frozen. We could barely break the crust of the earth, even with pickaxes. I immediately saw that this would never become a trench. After half an hour of pickaxing, we only reached a depth of a few centimeters. It was a hopeless task. After every 2 to 3 strikes, I had to rest. The pickaxe itself was so heavy that I could barely lift it. Meanwhile, the Russians on the Pest side spotted us and first showered us with machine gun fire, then mortar fire. We immediately lay down and remained motionless, holding our breath, burying our heads in the little excavated earth. In the meantime, the German transport planes roared. The searchlights followed them. Then they opened fire with anti-aircraft guns, and we watched the fireworks, holding our breath. A Heinkel plane dropped its 5 parachute packs above us and then turned towards Pest. It swerved right and left to get out of the beam of light, but they kept following it, and when they opened cannon fire on it, the plane caught fire and plummeted like a burning torch somewhere in Pest. As it hit the ground, a dull thud was heard, and then a huge red sea of flames remained in its place for a long time. We lay motionless for at least an hour. Bullets whizzed above us, distant cannon fire and the roar of airplanes mingled with the rapid fire. The previous day, 3 people had lost their lives at the same spot from a mortar hit, and several others at the Margaret Bridge bridgehead, poor forced laborers. When it calmed down a bit, we got up and tried to retreat, but we came under fire again. Around 2 a.m., the German soldiers allowed us to stop working and retreat behind the buildings. We gathered in front of the school on Horthy Miklos Street, handed in our tools, and sat down tiredly on the curb. Thoroughly frozen, we marched back, bypassing the Southern Railway. At 4 a.m., we turned onto Margaret Boulevard. In the distance, a huge fire was blazing. As we got closer, we saw that the huge 5-story building on the corner of Keleti Karolai Street had collapsed to the ground and was burning. This was the headquarters of the Hungarist Legion, where we had also been held captive by the Arrow Cross members in the basement 2 days before. This was where they had stockpiled the supplies that had arrived by air for weeks. The house may have been hit by a bomb or some kind of parachute container, which completely destroyed and burned the building. The neighboring house also collapsed to the ground, and the one opposite caught fire and also burned down. The exploding ammunition also mowed down the trees in the nearby park and caused terrible destruction to the buildings in the whole area. Approximately 160 civilians and 40 Arrow Cross and German soldiers were buried under the rubble. We were afraid that they would make us fight the fire, but that didn't happen. There was nothing left to save there. We bypassed the crackling, exploding, glowing, chaotic mass from a distance and arrived back at the Radetzky barracks.
Lux Gyula, 60 years old college teacher. District 12.
Today we have quite nice weather, but a strong wind is blowing, filling the rooms with powdery snow. The heavy artillery fire seems to be subsiding. This encouraged us to venture up to our kitchen, where we cooked lunch. After living in the dark cellar, it was a real redemption for our nerves to be able to get into the light. Of course, as soon as we had eaten, we hurried back to the cellar, because you never know when the shelling might start again. We think a lot about our sons and brothers. I wonder how they are. I am now certain that we will never live the way we have lived before. Because after such terrible material destruction, it will probably take a very long time before we can return to normal conditions. We will, of course, have to pay for the costs of the war. When the atmosphere is calmer, and I can think more calmly, the thought often arises whether it makes sense for me to record my experiences. Of course, it doesn't make much sense, because it is impossible to describe in words what we are experiencing here now. My expressive ability is too weak to create a picture for others of the mental states that now fill our souls. I cannot depict that state of mind when one has to live day and night in the constant awareness that life can end at any moment. So if someone will read my lines in the future, they will not be able to form a picture of the life we are living now. The generation that will read my lines in the future will surely live in completely different conditions and will not be able to form even a faint idea of the life we are now living. Where has the old sense of security gone? Where has the calm, secure way of life that was our lot before gone? Now a sense of uncertainty fills our souls because we do not know what our fate will be in the next moment or the next year. Where has humanity gone? Where has culture gone? Mad fanatics destroy or enslave millions, deprive us of everything. Why? To create a better age for humanity? Can a better age be created with such means, with such a method that lacks all moral basis? Certainly not.